extraordinary agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, January 9th, 2025, and this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 510. I have no specific agenda. I had an interesting conversation with a subscriber today. If he is here and you want to raise your hand, I'd be glad to answer your questions. Other than that, Tim, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to start today to kind of look at what's going on in the world and, be aware that, we're burying an ex-president and all of the pomp and circumstance that went with that. And whether you loved Jimmy Carter or didn't, it'd be hard to argue that he didn't leave an amazing legacy of a life well lived. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And they did a great job with all of the stuff that went with that. But more importantly, I don't know if you've been watching, I don't know how you could have avoided it, to see the horror that's been going on in Southern California. And, I saw the pictures this morning, the overhead pictures of the Altadena fire, and it literally looks like carpet bombing from World War II pictures. I've never seen anything like that in my lifetime, literally, in our country. I mean, there's never been anything that's gone through even a tornado or a hurricane, not with that wide a swath and that complete destruction. I mean, there are thousands of people whose lives are irreparably damaged out there, and there's a lot going to be, the ramifications of that for Southern California are going to go on for years. So keep those folks in your hearts and prayers, and be thankful that you're able to be on this call and, planning your future and not worrying about where you're going to sleep tonight and how you're going to eat. We're all blessed to be here, and kind of a crazy time to be looking at all that. But my goodness, what a disaster for those folks, and how horribly their lives have been uprooted, and the economy of the area and all that. I mean, there are a lot of people say, well, I can't feel too sorry for the people in Pacific Palisades. Well, they're people as well. Where they live, it doesn't matter. Their lives are just as disrupted. Anyway, I just think it's important that we reflect from time to time that we're pretty fortunate folks, and I appreciate you guys being here today and having the opportunity to, join with us today. Anyway, that's kind of where I kind of wanted to start today. I think, other than that, we are here for you. This is your call. Our intent is to answer your questions. I want to make sure that you have the scope of the call be broad enough that you understand that, we're here not to certainly just talk about probate, but probate, divorce, pre-probate, late mortgage, anything you want to talk about, we'll be happy to talk about and answer your questions and deal with all the things that we think are important and can help you do this. And we've grown our business and our lives together based on the things that we've learned from you and how better to serve you. So please take advantage of that. Down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a react button. And if you click on that, you'll see something that says raise hand. And all you gotta do is click on that, and we will call on you, and we'll talk to you about anything you want to talk about. If you want to pop something into chat, you can do that. And we'll go from there. Dwight, I saw that you texted something in about you haven't gotten your January data yet. And you're saying, am I the only one? Well, of course, you're not the only one. We ship data every day, but we'll be happy to look into where yours stands, and we'll get back to you on that for sure. With that, I will throw it open to the team. Anybody got anything particular they would like to talk about before we kind of take questions from anybody? Bruce, have you gotten over feeling bad? Are you recovered?
Well, I'm of course still coughing. I think most of you guys have been around here for a little while know that if I get sick, I'm not going to stop coughing for 4 months. So I might cough on you guys a little bit, but I feel good.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I got kind of sick right before Christmas, and today is literally the first day I think I've felt like I'm actually back at work. This has been a long ordeal. So I'm feeling grateful just to be here today. Crazy stuff. Aline, how's your move going? Where are you right now? Are you driving? You're muted there, kiddo.
You can see your seatbelt though.
So you can see my seatbelt. Yeah, but I'm a passenger.
not driving and Zooming at the same time. So yes, we're actually making the move, but today is a drive to Florida for, just partial getting ready in July at the end of the summer. End of the summer is the big move.
Well,
Elaine,
great.
I should warn you, you might want to turn around and go back because it was 49 at my house this morning. It's way too cold.
It's still better than below 20 degrees. So
I know. Just rubbing it in a little bit. Come on down.
Yeah,
it's up in the 60s by now.
I will say, so since we're not on anything specific, but making a transition after being in business for a number of years and like start over. I know we've spoken about it with one of our subscribers before. When you're transitioning and going in and sort of starting over, it's humbling, and it's quite a task. It's not like, oh, I've been doing real estate, I've been doing business, and I'm just going to be continuing business. It's starting over, and it's great because it gives a restart. That I think it's I guess mostly saying it's like humbling, realizing, making new connections, connecting with people. I'm grateful for having the leads and all the leads because it keeps that part of it consistent. And when you're with it for so long, you take yourself and go anywhere.
Just to clarify, Elaine, you're geographically transitioning, right? That's what you're.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Good.
Yeah, I wasn't clear about that.
Well,
I guess.
you're going. I'm being a smart aleck. You're going from New Jersey.
I'm just going on as though. Yeah.
You're going from New Jersey to Southwest Florida. Do you think
everybody else can?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but you won't have any culture shock at all going from New York, New Jersey to Southern Florida, right?
Oh, sorry.
You're breaking up pretty good there. You're breaking up awful good. We're gonna.
Oh, sorry.
No, not a problem at all. Hey, Colette, I noticed you texted this in. You didn't raise your hand, but I will. I asked you to unmute, and you said you've got an update on the house that the family member filed an affidavit of facts on. We talked about that before. What's cooking?
Yeah. So for anybody that was following that with me, I'll just do a real brief recap in case somebody's on here that didn't miss it. So I had a probate house, a house that that came through the marketing for all my leads, and everything looked legit. It had a warranty executrix deed on the house, which in Texas typically means that when you flip it over to a title company, they consider that this equal to a general warranty deed, and they move everything forward. But we had a family member who really thought and believed that he was owed the house in whole, and wanted to reopen the probate, and the judge denied it. So he went down and filed a affidavit of facts. And when he did that, it stirred up everything with how we were going to get everything closed and what we were going to do. And so it turned out that the title company, when they did a check, the title did not have any title insurance on it. So there was no way to go back and have the original title company that did the closing honor their title commitment and their insurance. So the title company that we were using rolled everything back to the will of the previous homeowner, which was the sister to my client's grandmother. And they ended up having to split the net proceeds 50-50. So that ended up being a lesson on letting your probate attorney file your deed without a title insurance commitment going with it, because if something happens 10 or 15 years down the road, you may have to give up half of your inherited proceeds on the sale of the property.
And how long after the inherited property had been something had been done? So how long after the original probate closed was this?
So the original, well, the deed was filed in 2009.
9. Okay.
So, and I think her sister passed away like 2007, 2008. That attorney that did that closing and filed that deed had also passed away. She passed away in like 2014. So I really didn't have any recourse to even go back to the attorney and say, was there a chance that there was approximately $70,000 in cash and the son took that, and the agreement was that the sister would take the house? Which when you look at the probate online, that's about what it looked like when you looked at the affidavit of inventory and debts and everything. She had about 60, 70,000 in cash and assets. The home was worth approximately 60 to 70,000. And I'm guessing the conversation was, let the son have the cash and the assets, let the sister keep the house, and they filed the deed accordingly. And the son just got greedy and came back, and he walked away with a nice hefty check of about $74,000
Hmm.
for not doing anything except spending $10 to go file an affidavit down at the courthouse.
Wow.
And the title company had told me, had there been any title insurance, we would have just flipped it back to that title company and said, here, you guys honor it and close it, since, you did that, but there was no title insurance to do anything. So it
Wow.
was either lose the deal or let the heir give up some of her proceeds, which at the end of the day, she said, it's better for me to walk away with something rather than nothing. So let's just do it.
It's interesting how you get attorneys involved in closing out real estate deals and transferring deeds and things like that. And very often, if they aren't a real estate attorney or a title company, very often they don't even know that maybe they should do title insurance.
Yeah.
And because it's so optional that they probably didn't even know that it's something
Yeah.
that they should have
I,
recommended.
I I looked her up. I think she was really good, but oftentimes people get this idea of, well, it's $800-900. I can save $800 or $900, but you can
Sure.
see that $800 or $900 at the end of the day can really benefit you 10 years down the line if somebody decides, well, I've gone through the 60,000 that I received, now I want some more, which
Yeah.
which is really what it boils down to. So,
Mm.
and I do a lot of work around Texas with attorneys, and very rarely do I see them not using some type of title company to get title insurance on it, because it really protects them as well. So I was really surprised in this scenario that they didn't, but they didn't, and it was a lesson learned for everybody. And it's still more money than the granddaughter has ever seen in her life. And it was nice to be able to do that for her, and then encourage her and connect her to somebody that will help her open up her own retirement account and start building on that with her own job. So at the end of
Nice.
the day, it had a positive outcome, and the home is going to somebody who can do the updates and get it cleaned up and do what needs to be done with it, because they didn't have the money to do any of that.
Mhm.
So
Well, you did a good
Outstanding.
thing. You did a good thing for everybody and learned a lesson, and now you were good enough to come back and share it with everybody. I think that's a great learning experience for the whole community. So thank you for that.
you're very welcome.
And I
Okay.
know that for the most part, talking about title insurance, we're preaching to the choir on this for the most part. But if there is anyone here that has started to think, hey, does title insurance ever make a difference? This is going to be your example that you can use on how it makes a difference. And I've seen this probably 5 times in my career where title insurance made a difference, and about 1,000 times where it didn't make a difference, but the 5 times it's worth it. It's worth it because you can really be in a world of hurt if you don't have it in the wrong situation.
Insurance only matters when you need it.
Yeah.
Always.
I'll add that Bruce, my wife and I have bought hundreds of properties. To our knowledge, there's 2 times when we didn't get title insurance. One time it wasn't available, and the other time somehow we had to do a quick closing, we forgot. and we had major issues with both of them. the
Whoa.
the one where we forgot, we had to move. The survey was wrong. We had to move a walkway 1.5 feet. It cost
Oh,
us $40,000. We went back and we didn't get title. And I preach that to people, and it still got by me. So
Mhm.
yeah, it for the cost, it's never not worth having, for sure, in my opinion.
Hey, John, I saw that you had your hand up. John, if you'll unmute yourself, what were you going to ask there, my friend?
Hi, this is possibly boilerplate because I'm relatively new to the ATL with regard to probate, but I've spent a long time working on the files, and then I go back and when I say working on the files, I get to the point where I'm going to select the marketing and move on to the next one and say who's going to get the direct mail, et cetera, et cetera. But then if I have to go away from that, even when I put a description in the top and the tabs like a follow up or a hot lead, if I go away and come back, that's all gone. So I'm becoming like a secretary. I'm doing something wrong, and I hope you guys can point me in the right direction if I explained it as
I'm not,
accurately.
I'm not 100% sure about the problem that you're having, but if you don't mind, I'm going to have one of our MISs reach out to you and walk you through this and show them what you're dealing with, and we'll get you squared away for sure.
Well, I can reach out to mine. She's been very helpful, and I'll do that. Yeah,
Who you working with, Jess or Lizzie?
Lizzie.
Hey, yeah, just reach back out to Lizzie and tell her what you just said.
Yeah,
And she'll show you, because obviously you're missing something,
Um,
or we would have heard about it before now in
yeah.
10 minutes. So
And
something's
I'm
wrong.
wasting a lot of time with this thing. I mean, I'm getting, anyway, you know what it is.
Yeah, don't want that to happen. We'll be glad to
Thank
make
you.
sure to fix that.
John, those little hiccups along the way are frustrating. I sold a property on Monday,
Yeah.
and I went into my MLS and I pended it, and it didn't take. I forgot to
Hmm.
save. And I got 2 offers this morning,
Uh,
and I had to call them and say, "Hey, you guys sent me offers on a house that sold. What do you mean it sold? Why didn't you do your job?" And it was just
yeah,
simply
yeah.
like something that you sometimes your save button doesn't take. So,
I've been doing this business 53 years,
mhm.
and this is my swan song, and I want this to really be successful because I look like the demographic.
We're going to make sure you're successful. So call Lizzie and she'll get you squared away, bud.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Sorry that you ran into a bump there, but we'll be glad to get it fixed for you. It's just, I would try to answer it now, but it's easier to do it looking at your screen with you, and that way we're sure clear. And my other reason for it is if something weird happened in the software, let me just ask you one other quick question. And you can try this before you call Lizzie. How long has it been since you restarted your computer, perchance?
Oh, 2 days?
And well, the reason that I'm asking that is that it sometimes happens when you're in a software as a service system like that. You get stuck in a session, and it won't do it because for whatever reason the session disables the save. Has nothing to do with our software.
Right, right.
Or whatever. And one thing I would recommend, maybe before you call her, is to go in and restart your computer and then relaunch the app. Go in and just do one thing, make a change, save it, and come back and see if it saved it.
Good point. Okay, I'll do that. I
Try
appreciate that
that. Because
information.
sometimes in the session in the computer establishes a session with our software.
Yeah,
And the session gets crippled and it doesn't allow the save. That could be part of the issue.
gotcha. Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty, no
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you.
All right. Folks, we need to hear from more of you here. Jim, is your person that was coming on coming?
I don't see him. Gerald Jefferson, if you're here, raise your hand. But I don't see him yet. Said he'd be a few minutes late. but-
Thompson.
Gerald Jefferson.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Don't see him yet.
okay, that's fine.
It was a good question. We can bring it up in a little bit if he doesn't pop in.
I agree. Yeah.
Indeed. I want to ask another question. I spent some time this morning. I think, as I said, this kind of the first day I felt like kind of getting back to work after feeling ill for a while. And I had a couple of conversations, one with contact that Keller Williams, another one with another contact with two other different realty companies. And everybody's kind of saying the same thing, oh, it's last couple of years are really tough for people and, been really tough time for our business and all that. And, going through that. And yet, we're seeing, great results from a lot of the folks anecdotally that are on our group and on our calls, and we hear about them all the time. And I asked both of them the same question, and that is, are the people that you're talking to, did they have a firm foundation before the kind of unrest in the last couple of years got started? Were they doing well and they stopped doing well, or have they ever done well? And in every case, it was a very interesting answer. And I guess you can probably guess where I'm going with this. The answer was they weren't doing well before. And it sort of talks to their grounding in the business. It's like, if you're going to be successful, having something to fall back on and having, a systematized approach to doing your business is what you do when things get tough. And if you don't have that, got nothing to fall back on, you got a problem. And it's one of the things that, I know that Bruce teaches in his training, look at your business like a business, make sure you're managing it like a business, look at your time, allocate your time appropriately and all that. And, I every time I feel like I'm, giving you commercials for what you do, but Bruce, I think it would be appropriate for you to maybe have a little bit of a conversation about that. And Patty, I'll get to you as soon as we get done with this, but, talk a little bit about that foundation. Yes, it's been tough, but we see people being really, really successful, and they were successful before. They're being more successful now.
Mm-hmm. Well, first, I have had a conversation with people. I agree with you 80% of the time. The people that are struggling right now didn't have a great foundation. I've had conversations with people that are struggling over the last couple of months. They're not struggling over the last couple of months. They've been struggling for a year or a year and a half since the market started to change. But over the last couple of months, I'm having conversations, and it does feel like about 20% of the people that are struggling were doing pretty well before. The issue is a lot of them were doing reasonably well with their sphere of influence. And if you're an investor, sphere of influence doesn't perfectly apply to you guys. But agents, you guys know, if you've had good sphere of influence business for a little while, and this year it hasn't been good, that's somewhat natural of the market. You need to shift into sellers or buyers, but mostly sellers that need to sell. A lot of times, if you're relying on just your relationships, strictly relationships, you need a lot of relationships when the market turns down. A lot of relationships, because a smaller percentage of your people are going to be transacting. So those that have had good businesses over the years but are all of a sudden struggling, many times it's because the only thing that they had was a reasonably sized sphere of influence. Maybe I know 80 or 100 people that I interact with, and that was enough for some good referral and repeat business. If you're working your sphere of influence, it's got to be consistent. But you definitely need to add additional resources, because one spoke of your wheel can have a bad year. And if you're not financially stable, that bad year can put you in a lot of pain. So you need two, you need three, you need four. I know we're here to talk about probate. Probate is a consistent and steady source for a whole lot of people when they work it. Okay. Now I'm going to say this. Probate is also a big waste of money for people that don't work it. Okay. A big waste for people that don't work it. So when you do decide to go ahead and take those sources on, you need to have a plan. You need to put the effort in. You need to work it. You need to make the calls. You need to do marketing. you need to have relationships. And ultimately, the biggest thing is you need to know how much of a pipeline you need. That's the most important thing. You need to target and set goals around your pipeline, not necessarily the number of deals that you want to do, but the amount of a pipeline that are going to get you to the number of deals. And from that point forward, you hyper fixate and hyper focus on your pipeline. And that's what it's all about. I know, because I've recently done the numbers for myself, I know that every single month in my business, I need to identify 25 people that are going to sell. 25. That's the goal that I'm hyper fixated on. Now, they're not going to come out and say to a stranger, "Yeah, we're going to sell, Bruce. You're going to come list the house." That's not the response that they're giving me. The response that they're giving me in the probate space is, "Yeah, there's property, but we're really not sure what we're going to do." And I go, "Okay, ding, 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 ding. That's someone that's going to sell." And I only have to find 25 of those people. From that point forward, my marketing game is going to be what carries a good percentage of those into a deal with me, into a relationship. So first off, stop looking at this huge goal, the end of the day goal, which is your financial goal and your number of deals, number of transactions goal. I want you to start with that, but after you figure out what your daily, weekly, and monthly plan is, stop focusing on the goal of how much money you're making and start focusing on how many relationships are you starting. Okay. And if you start a relationship, obviously it needs to continue. So if you start a relationship and they don't hear from you anymore for 4 months and then they sell a house, that's not their fault. They didn't use you. It's yours. So you clearly have to follow up. But I mainly want to encourage anyone who is struggling that maybe you're in the category that you had good business before. Ask yourself, where was that business coming from? And do I need to add spokes into my wheel?
Bruce,
And
when you
once you
talk
add
about
on,
spokes, are
what's
you
your
talking about
plan?
lead sources or
Lead
marketing
sources.
channel, lead sources? Right.
Lead
Okay.
sources. Yep.
Yeah.
You also need to understand and have a plan for how much you're willing to spend from a time or financial standpoint. Time or financial, one of the two. How much you're willing to spend to acquire a deal. Okay, so for me, I'm willing to spend $1,000 to acquire a deal. At that point, I look at my total, the total amount um, of my leads, and I say, okay, that means that I can budget X amount of time or X amount of money per lead to get the conversion that I want. So my number is $1,000 on probate. I'm willing to spend $1,000 per deal, not per client, not per lead. Well, actually, yes, per client, but per deal, $1,000 to get that deal. And now now I know exactly how I'm going to allocate that budget.
Hey, Bruce, you said something there, if I can interrupt real quickly. Back in it, somewhat related in my coaching career, we used to always say your appointment to prospect is more important than the appointments you get prospecting. So you just made a really good point there that it's time and money. So you need $1,000 to produce a certain number of leads. How many hours or how much time do you need to produce in conjunction with the advertising?
Absolutely. Listen, I'm going to be really clear. For me, that number is $1,000 is really high because I spend money for other people to put the time in. I spend money for other people to put the mail out the door. I spend money for other people to have the initial dials. I spend money for other people to drop my packages off. Okay. So I'm spending money to replace the time. And it's one of the reasons why it's a lot. It's $1,000 per deal, which by the way, I make $11,000 on every deal. So really that's still a great ROI. But if you're going time heavy, you're probably going to budget um, 2 hours of prospecting effort per lead. And if you convert 5% of your leads, then that means that per deal, you're probably going to spend about 40 hours finding that deal if you're prospecting heavy and not money heavy. Okay. So that's how you want to work it backward. Okay, am I going to work it backward and spend the money for someone else to go hunt the deal down, and I just am writing basically a check to get a deal? Or is the check that I'm writing to get a deal, is it my time? And I think that when you guys are kind of early in the process, it needs to be heavily time based. Not exclusively, but heavily. There needs to be some money spent on marketing, absolutely. But you're gonna be putting more time in while you're getting started and you're establishing your systems.
Hey, Bruce, Patty has her hand up, but Gerald just jumped on. Gerald, if you want to raise your hand, we'd love to. This is right in keeping with what we talked about this morning. So if you don't mind raising your hand, Gerald, you'll be next. But thank you. Yep.
Actually, you're wrong, Jim. I already committed to Patty. I'm overruling you.
No, that's what I said. No, I said go Patty first. And then Gerald, put your hand up for to be in second position.
Cool. Hey, Patty, go ahead.
Hey, I don't mind if I don't know if you wanted to answer. Colette was more in line with Bruce's. What I can wait a few minutes because it is off the subject. So if you want
Go
to,
right ahead. Go right ahead.
okay. First, I was excited today. I got to use just the two tips I learned on on this channel and also with Bruce is when I was talking to one of the PRs, got to tell him about vacant home insurance riders, suggest that, talking about, posting no trespassing on the vacant home. So, I mean, they were super impressed with that. I mean, we have a walkthrough next week with that. So we're excited about that. But my question is, I've had a couple reverse mortgage sales before. Do you guys, as far as on a probate side of that, has anyone ever handled reverse mortgage in a probate situation? Because I've only handled it before they passed.
Yes, my
Yes.
wife has done. Yeah, yeah. My wife has done a bunch of short sales that were reverse mortgages with probate. And what's your question? How is it different, Patty?
Well, no, not necessarily about that, but maybe more about like, does anybody actually market for that? For that kind of
What's
a
your
deal?
state? What state are you in?
I'm in Georgia.
When you say market to that, what do you specifically, what do you mean?
Well,
Hold on a second before you answer that, Patty. Let me try to answer what I think you're asking, or let me try to say what I think you're asking and tell you yes. So you apply filters to go specifically after people in probate that also have a reverse mortgage.
yeah.
So there are definitely people that do it. Definitely. I know a handful. I don't believe that I think that those filters scrub a whole lot of people out that are just as good a candidates as as the reverse mortgage people. So I would just take the reverse mortgages as they come up and know that you can absolutely help those folks, whether it's short sale. And there's a lot of people in reverse mortgage that have one that think that they have no options, that the house is just going back to the bank, and they've got a load of equity, a lot of equity.
Yeah, both
They
of
just
my
don't know
both
it.
the two that I had, the families were shocked that they actually were walking away with a lot of money. They just, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do, some like community awareness. So this is not really tied to my probate leads, but just in my marketing generally as a probate expert, doing stuff or specialist, and being able to talk to families, about that, that they even have that option.
Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Bruce.
Along the same question, somebody chatted in and asked, Joe asked the question, what's the best approach when the reverse mortgage balance exceeds the market value of the property? Does that turn it into a short sale? No, that would it be?
It would be.
Well,
Uh,
I thought you didn't even have to, I mean, it just reverts back to the bank. And
Exactly.
the reverse mortgage, the family doesn't owe anything over if it goes underwater. That's the reverse mortgage's problem at that
But
point.
you know what?
Convey, at that point, doesn't the deed convey?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
But the bank has the option to take the property. What I think has happened more is that you have a spouse and they've run out of money, and then one of them passes away, and the other spouse can't make the taxes and insurance, so they're going to foreclose because when your money runs out on a short sale, you're now responsible for the tax and insurance. So the bank's going to foreclose if you can't pay on those things. So that's where I've seen a short sale come into effect.
Patty,
you know- Yeah,
my
go ahead.
my wife's done a couple thousand of them. She's had a surprising number of them where the good thing with the short sale on a reverse mortgage, the person is deceased, so they don't need to supply paperwork or anything. It's just a matter of the executor supplying an authorization. She's had a number of them that didn't have anything financial to gain, but they just didn't want to see grandma's house. They wanted to see a nice family in grandma's house. They
Yeah.
didn't want to see it continue to deteriorate and get foreclosed. You'd be surprised. Sometimes people will do things, for other than money. So, I'd always ask that question.
Yeah.
Well, because my business is, half of it is personal property because of being an auctioneer. So I literally half of my business is the content. So I have a way of, getting those contents even when, potentially I'm not getting the real estate, but
Gotcha.
thank you guys.
I'm not going to speak to the legality of this. I'm going to tell you what I've seen other people do, and I'm not going to say legal, not legal. I'm just going to say what I've seen some people do, specifically investors, is write an offer as your corporation or your LLC. Your articles of organization are not public. They're not a part of the transaction. I've seen the investors buy the property as an LLC and short sale and give the family or the current owner a little bit of ownership in the LLC. Pretty decent way, pretty unique way of working with someone that otherwise has no incentive to sell a house. If there is no incentive, just let it go back to the bank. Pretty decent way to get them a little bit of cash on a flip outside of closing.
That's a good, interesting answer there, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody that is thinking about doing something like that, you better check with your lawyer. I'm not telling you anything about how to do it. I've just seen it done.
I'll give you Bruce's address. You can send it to him. It'll be great. It'll all work out well.
Yeah.
You also have, can you hear me? I hope-
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you also have the opportunity before to see if it can get sold via an investor during the time if it's above the amount, or if you can get it sold where they would make, if there's value there above the amount that's owed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Usually you have at least 6 months.
Yeah, you have that option, and oftentimes you can find an investor or a buyer off market to be able to, get them the amount. Of course, there has to be value there, but there's always that option of doing that. And oftentimes an attorney will be able to help you buy time.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Okay, Gerald, you are up, my friend.
And then I want to answer Colette's question in chat after Gerald.
Okay, Gerald, we can't hear you, bud.
Unmute yourself if you can.
Was unmuted, Jim. Gerald,
Going on and off mute. I think a bunch of people are clicking the button on you.
I think you're good now. Talk quick.
Jim, you're
No.
not
He's
helping.
not- There we go. Can't hear you.
You're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Gerald, there's a little down at the bottom of your screen. You've got your audio button on the bottom left, and then there's a little arrow next to it. Click that. Go to make sure that the microphone is on your headset, that it's going through your headset. It's probably going through something else.
No, sir, we cannot hear you now.
All All right. I can pose, Gerald, if you'll allow me to, I can pose the questions you asked me this morning. Is that okay? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Gerald, move your lips as I speak. I had a great long conversation with Gerald this morning. Gerald has tried us for 4 to 6 months, maybe in 2022, and then recently, but he had a full-time job. I think he's an engineer, I believe, in the oil and gas business, and he never gave it the time it deserved, according to what he told me. He recently got laid off from his job, and his question to me was, if I work probate, divorce, late mortgage payments, if I work niches, I'd really like to do that. Can I really make $50,000 or more per year? Gerald's in a good position where he can survive without getting a job for a year, but he doesn't want to burn through all of his savings, which makes a lot of sense. So his first question was, can I do that? And then the second question is, how can I do it? And then his third question was about social media marketing, which I was no help at all. Is that pretty close, Gerald? Thumbs up?
And Gerald, if he misses any,
Thumbs
no.
down. Not at all.
Where did
Why
I go
can't we
wrong?
unmute him?
We're trying.
Gerald,
Ideally more than $50,000. We got that
Oh, he
chatted
wants to
in.
make more than 50. Okay. And
Yeah.
that's right. He said the average realtor makes 50 grand. I'm used to making more than that. Is it realistic? I can make more than that. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. You can make that in a month. Not in month one, but you can do that close to monthly with the right approach and systems, not yearly. But you do need to put a very specific plan together, and you need to work your numbers backwards. It doesn't have to be crazy. You basically need to look and say, hey, I want to make $10,000 a month. What's that? One deal. Okay. And I don't know. It depends on your market. That might be 2 deals. It might be half a deal. It might be 1, but figure out what that is. And then say, all right, that means I need to find X number of people out of each list. And so for me in my market, that's one person out of each list. I get 100 and I get probably 200 leads a month, somewhere in there. I need a 0.5% conversion rate to make $10,000 a month. That's almost impossible not to do. Now, there's a whole bunch of people, probably even on this call, that aren't doing a half a deal a month. Okay. So I say it's impossible not to do, and there's going to be some people going, wait a minute, it's not that impossible. I'm not doing that. Here's the thing is you're targeting your pipeline first. Okay. All you need to do is start conversations, and you're going to start conversations, yes, through mail. They'll reach out to you, get familiar with you, but you're going to start conversations through phone as well. You need to learn how to read between the lines and listen to what people are really, really telling you. So, for me, my goal is 25 people per month that have told me, we don't know what we're going to do with the house yet. We don't know what we're going to do with the house yet. Reading between the lines, that's someone that's talking to a stranger on the phone that's going to sell a house. So if 25 people said, we don't know yet, that's probably 23 of them are going to sell. That's 23 people that didn't want to tell me that they were selling a house because they were afraid I was going to try to close them. All right. So I give them a chance to say, we don't know yet. So and that becomes my goal. Once I've had that conversation, now I know that I have about 5 or 6 months to become the number one person that they think about. The first time I talk about them, they're not even going to remember my name. One of our members here a couple of months ago had to go through probate personally. His mom had passed away. He applied for probate. The first day that he applied for probate, he got 2 phone calls from investors. He said, I literally just applied. I have no idea how you guys know that I opened probate. This was earlier today, or it was yesterday. And he called me and said, I'm worried I'm too late with some of these leads. And I said, what are you going to do with the house? And he said, I don't know yet. I know he's going to sell. Okay. Second question I asked him is, what were the names of the people that called you? And he said, I don't know. All right. So you make a contact with someone today. You're getting as much information as you can. But today's contact is not about getting the appointment. Today's contact is identifying who you're going to put your effort behind. Who are you going to market to? Who are you going to send information to? Who are you going to follow up on? Um, what are you going to do to provide value? So I told you guys my goal is 25 people a month that I have a conversation with and that say, I'm not sure what we're going to do with the house yet. All right. And then I just shoot for a certain percentage of them to convert. And for me, 20% of those people is a really, really predictable conversion rate. So if I can have a conversation with 25 people that have said, I don't know if we're going to sell yet, I'm going to get 5 every month with the right follow-up plan. 5 a month.
And
Maybe
Bruce, that
you're,
might not be in month 1. That might be starting in the 4th month. It might take
yeah,
you-
that'll probably be
Yeah.
starting around month 5, month 6.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Um, it's not common that you even get anything in month 1, 2, or 3. If you do, it's gravy. I'll get a lead list in a week and I might convert someone in week 1. But I'm certainly not expecting to get anyone out of the lead list that I have coming up for 5 or 6 months. But starting in month 5 or 6, I'm going to be getting 4 or 5 people out of that list starting in month 6. So the first month that I get that list, it's just how many people can I have a conversation with and how many people can I bait to tell me that they don't know what they're going to do with the house yet. And yes, I'm baiting them to say, we don't know what we're going to do with the house yet. Why am I doing that? Because they want to resist me. I'm a stranger. They don't want to tell me what's going on. So I would rather them say, we don't know what we're going to do with the house yet than say, hey, we're not going to sell the house. So if I'm in that first conversation, if I ask them, hey, are you going to sell the house or are you going to keep the house? They're going to take whatever resists me the most. So they're going to say, oh yeah, we're going to keep the house. So I quit asking if you're going to keep the property. I started asking, are you going to sell the house or do you not know yet? Oh, we don't know yet. Anybody that doesn't know, they're going to sell. Because if they're going to keep the house, they know. Let me just say that. There's more to the conversation, but I want you to set a goal for how many conversations you have every month. That's your goal. It's not the number of closings. I mean, you got to start with the number of closings. It's not that. It's the number of conversations you're going to enter into on a monthly basis. How many casual relationships are you going to start? And then you, through your follow-up marketing and prospecting combined, are going to convert a certain percentage of those over time.
And Bruce, before we forget, both Gerald and one of our coaches ask, how do we sign up for the coaching? You know, if you'd go over that, we haven't talked about it lately, both foundations and mastery.
Yeah.
Foundations is free. And if you give them some details on mastery, go ahead, Bill, you saying something?
No, I was just going to say it's under training courses, seminars. But if you could quit, just get a little breakdown of probate mastery, probate principles, probate foundation, because I get those questions from my students.
Okay. So Probate Foundations is a free 30,000 foot view for the person that doesn't know if they want to pursue probate. We've got an on-demand version. If you sign up, you also get invited when I do live versions, and I do live versions once every couple of weeks. So all of these can be found on alltheleads.com/training. So alltheleads.com/training. Alyssa just put it in chat for those that are here. So foundations. I want to dip my toe in the water. I don't know if this is a niche I want to pursue. Want to take a free class, couple hours long. Principles and practices. Hey, I took foundations. I like it. I don't know if I want to be certified and I don't have the money to spend on a big class, but I want to go a little bit deeper. 50, 60 bucks. You can go through a class that goes a little bit deeper. That's for the person that's broke. Okay. We've all been there. Sometimes I find myself there too. Okay. Or, hey, I like this, but I want to go like knee deep in the water. If you are committed to probate, get certified. It's not only about the certification. Mastery is currently there's two big classes in Mastery. It's my version of Probate Mastery and Chad Corbett's version of Probate Mastery. They both live there, and I encourage you guys to take both. They both follow the same skeletal structure, and that skeletal structure is understanding the probate process. There's other trainers out there that teach probate classes that major on the process. So 80% of the class is understanding terminology and process and things like that. And you leave with the equivalent of a law degree. Not really, but you leave with a lot of knowledge on the probate process that most of which you'll never use. So they major on the process. I minor on the process. I teach you enough to know basically what you're doing, and then tell you if you don't. If somebody asks you one of these questions, go get a couple of attorneys that you have relationships with. So we minor on that. Then we move into business planning. Then we move into creating a unique selling proposition. So you're not like your other investors and agents that are pursuing them. Hey, you want to use me because I'm a really good real estate agent? Well, we all say that. So how do you create something that you would talk about and say that's compelling to your audience and differentiates you? So that's a portion. The next portion is prospecting. What to say when you have a conversation that you don't put people off, how to read between the lines, how to move people to the next step through your conversations. And then last is the appointment. So what to do on the appointment to lock it down. How I move people through listing appointments to do deals with me, how I present investor offers if I'm going to do an investor offer. So that's currently Probate Mastery, and you get certified with it. And starting next week, I'm going to be redoing. Eventually, we'll have a 2.0 of Probate Mastery that's even bigger. So starting next week, I'm going to roll out a ton of live classes. So anybody that wants mastery, I think now would be the time, because you get our recorded versions, but you also get invited to all the live classes that we're doing. And the live classes are going to be dozens of hours at the end of the day, dozens of hours of live training that you guys get to build your business with.
And Bruce, you
So-
forgot to mention your most advanced course, Master. You charge what, $10,000 for that? What do you typically charge?
$500, which most likely will be changing later when the new version is all the way out. So I would get in before that's out and get the benefit of it.
Bruce, I think it says $400 on the site.
It does, right? Okay, perfect. So
So
all the
I
leads
think
has a
someone should
discount.
jump that now.
Yeah. So buy it through all the leads and it's less. Okay. So if you come straight to me, you can give me $500. If you want to get the same thing and pay $400, go to alltheleads.com/training.
Gerald, did you just try to raise your hand again, or was that up there? Can you talk now?
We're probably going to unmute you. Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me now?
Hey, yes, sir.
Okay, great. Bruce, I think your name is Bruce, the guy with the hat. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep,
Okay.
that's right.
Yeah. So just trying to understand, do you offer training that will, or a coaching, I should say, that will help me to set up and organize the structure of the business and the flow of the business as you've described it, with bringing leads in and making the contacts via the marketing with letters or postcards and making the calls, so on and so forth. I mean, do you offer training and coaching that will help me kind of get all
Yes.
those things kind of
Yep.
float? Okay, right.
All those things. So Number one is I want you to know that if you're a subscriber with All the Leads, and I'm pretty sure you are, All the Leads has coaches, Aline, Bill, Steve. Looking around, I think Aline, Bill, Steve, somebody, if I'm missing someone, let me know. That you get a free coaching call with them once a month. And you should
Okay.
take advantage of that for any subscriber on here. My training is generally going to be in a group setting. Once someone is in the training, some people say, hey, you know what? I want to add 8 or 12 private coaching sessions or 12 or 16 group coaching sessions, that kind of thing. It's something that you can do. But I would like you to be in some of the training first. I've had people that have skipped the training and come straight to me. And then they go, Bruce, kind of hard on me. I don't like it. Or, hey, it's not my style. So I highly encourage the mastery class first before you decide. And if you decide that you want to add on a certain number of private coaching sessions, we just have a conversation about that.
Okay, great. The last question that I had originally this morning was tied to social media marketing. Is there something that is offered within All the Leads that will explain how to target, prospects that I get from a All the Leads standpoint on a monthly basis via social media?
I'm gonna say this, and then listen, Tim. You guys can chime in on what you're doing social media. So targeting your list with social media is quite complicated. So if you are taking, let's say, Facebook ads, number one is you have to load them in with an email address. You need to know what account that lead is tied to, how to find them, and that's done with an email address. When you skip trace email addresses, you might get 10 email addresses and you don't know which one they signed up for Facebook with. Let's take
Right.
Facebook. And then let's say that you do get a whole bunch of people that you have the appropriate Facebook account and email address on. Facebook generally has a rule that you need to have 1,000 valid accounts before they'll let you run ads and target them. Okay, 1,000. That's a lot. So I don't normally specifically target leads through ads like that on social media. I definitely believe in social media content. Your social media content is going to be heavily geared toward your natural, organic audience, sphere of influence, people that you know, because you want them knowing that this is a specialty as well. It'll pay dividends. You'll make money. It's not going to be targeted toward the person that's in probate though, because they're not normally going to find it.
Yeah.
If you want people to find you, YouTube. So
Mhm.
YouTube specifically talking about things that they're searching for. And they're not searching, this is just a little hint. They don't go to Google and say, how to sell my inherited property. Because they think they know. They probably know 10 realtors anyway.
And they don't make that differentiation anyway.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So if you're going to create content with that, it needs to be content around the things that they're looking for. So how to apply for probate, how to fill out form 49T6. Okay. And I just made that up there. I don't think there is a form 49T6. So things that they would actually be looking for on Google and YouTube. If the content is relevant and you have good copy, YouTube's going to show up really high on that search. One of our subscribers, Courtney Rollins, he's done this with things like I just gave you. I've been on the phone with him and his other phone rings. He goes, "This is my YouTube phone." He'll answer the phone and people, I've heard this multiple times. I've been on the phone with him when this happened and I can hear the conversation. Hey, I was looking at your YouTube video about this form, or I was looking at your YouTube video on this or that. I had a question for you. And it's not normally a real estate question, but he turns that conversation toward real estate after he's helped. So I believe when it comes to marketing, YouTube is key. And I think that your social media is also great. just recognize your social media is going toward your organic audience because they have to know that you specialize in this as well. You'll get a lot of business from them once they know. So
Right.
please do that, but it's just not targeting the people in probate.
Right, and I want to add one other thing, and that is that, yes, we, from an all lead standpoint, we definitely can help you work on your social media and SEO stuff, particularly wrapped around your website and the other things that you're doing.
Mhm.
And it's a holistic approach. It all needs to work together. It all needs to be in concert. And I think that's kind of the important thing. And, we talked earlier about having multiple legs on your stool. It's not just about probate. Bruce is giving you, his unique area of expertise, and it's great because he's focused on that niche. But, we're similarly, capable of directing you appropriately on the other niches that we sell, and we
Yep.
continue to get better about doing that. And you need more than one trick to make this work. So we can help you with all that, and your website needs to talk to that as well. And I'm gonna stop this part of it. And Bruce, you did want to talk to Colette and answer her question before we got off, and we're at the top of the hour, actually over a little bit. So if you want to answer her question, we'll make that the last thing we do.
Yeah, so I talked earlier in the call about my personal $1,000 budget per closed deal. So everybody's gonna, and by the way, that's my max, close to $1,000. It doesn't mean that I actually spend $1,000 per client that I acquire. I just know that I can allow myself to spend $1,000 on a closed deal, and that helps me decide on my lead sources. So I go to Zillow, for example, and I calculate my conversion rate and the cost per lead, and I figure out it's going to cost me $3,600 to get a deal. I don't take that lead source on. Now, I'm not trashing Zillow for people that are on here. I'm just saying I run every lead source through the filter of can I acquire a client for less than $1,000? And if the answer is yes, and I have the time, I'll consider it. Probate is absolutely yes. So I look at $1,000 and say, if I was going to spend $1,000 per client per closed deal, and let's pretend that I only convert 1% of my leads. Let's just pretend. I'll do more. Um, how would I divide that $1,000 up? So if I convert 1%, that means that I can spend basically $10 per lead. Okay, if I convert 2%, means I can spend $20 per lead. If I convert 5%, it means I can spend 50. So my ratios personally are generally that I have a budget for cold leads that I've never established communication with. And that budget somewhere around $35 for each cold lead. I've never talked to you before. I'm going to spend some money for an ISA to do some calls. I'm going to spend some money on cold mail marketing. I might spend some money on delivering a package or something like that. But I'm assigning them a budget for what I'm going to spend to move them into my pipeline. Okay. Now, what happens once they're in my pipeline? Each one of those people gets another budget. Once somebody's in my pipeline and I know they're going to sell, I'm going all out. I'm going all out. So I'm allowing myself another eight or $10 for cold mail, not cold mail, but mailers. I might allow myself $20 for a package to be delivered. So I'm putting some things together that are a little higher value, and we're going all out. So I'm spending the majority of that money, of the thousand, if I spend it all, on someone in my pipeline, and I'm spending about $35 per person, up to $35 per person on cold outreach, mail, and calls. And remember, that's because I'm spending more money to have somebody do my calls for me. If I was doing the calls myself, it wouldn't cost me nearly that much. And I do believe that the majority of you guys should pick the phone up and have conversations. But if you can't, you don't have time, you're busy, you have other business, you don't know what to say on the phone. First off, take mastery, learn what to say on the phone. But if you're just not going to do it, hire someone to do that for you, and hand off the people that have answered the phone, which is another big thing because All the Leads has the ISA service. If they get an answer, even if it's not the perfect conversation, and I'm going to wrap it up soon, Tim, they get the answer, it's not the perfect conversation, that's still someone that you need to call. Okay. My ISAs all the time get nowhere on the call. Hey, is this Tom? Yeah, this is Tom. What's this about? Hey, it's about probate. Click. Okay. I'm calling that person because they answered the phone. They're the right person. And I can look on tax records and see that there's a house involved. So regardless of where the person doing my calls for me, what outcome they got, it's still filtering down the list of people that I need to call, even if the first person's conversation wasn't great. All right, so that's basically it. So in other words, just lay your budget out. You know what you can spend on a deal. Lay the budget out and figure out your plan. I could give you mine, but mine changes all the time.
And I think the important thing, Bruce, that you're saying here is that, you're talking about all of the different things that you actually expend money on every month that you do. You're spending on ISA and mail, and you also put time dollars on your or time value on your dollar value rather on your time.
Mhm.
So your budget includes all of that, and that's the mistake, unfortunately, a lot of people make. They say, well, I can afford to spend X dollars. Well, okay, how much of your time are you spending? What's that worth?
Yeah.
And all needs to be in that same equation. And I think that's the important thing. And that's, part of what you'll learn as you go through this is that, you only got a certain amount of hours in the day you can work. Otherwise, you're doing a horrible job with your life. So you've got to make sure that expensive time is one that you're getting the right answers back from and the right results from. So that's key. Guys, this has been a really great call. We ran long today, but great topics, wonderful, wonderful participation. Jim, you do a great job of sending us home. Do it for us, buddy.
All right. Well, certainly our longest call of the year, maybe one of our longest ever. We usually try to get out on time. But I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to particularly thank Gerald and Patty, Colette, John, Dwight, our coaches, Bruce, Aline, Steve, Tim, and Bill for actively participating. And I want to challenge each of you, take one idea, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week, guys. Same time next Thursday. Take care.